What if something you've done your whole life, something that once brought comfort, was now quietly draining your health? Most men over 70 never suspect that a private habit could be hurting their circulation, their energy, even their confidence. And yet, doctors are now warning, if you're not adapting, you may already be paying the silent price. Have you ever paused to wonder, really wonder, how something as natural and deeply personal as masturbation might change once you cross into your 70s? At this stage in life, many older men begin to reconnect with physical comfort, rediscover the value of intimacy, and seek moments of emotional grounding through personal pleasure. Masturbation, when approached with care, is not just common, it's genuinely healthy. It can ease stress, improve sleep, boost circulation, and even support prostate health. But here's the truth few talk about. While the act itself may remain familiar, your body has changed, and so must the way you engage with it. What many men don't realize is that certain habits, innocent routines from decades past, may now be quietly undermining your health, draining your energy, and potentially shortening your vitality. Not out of recklessness, but out of unawareness. That's why doctors are now raising their voices, not to shame, not to control, but to educate, empower, and protect. Because the goal isn't to stop doing what brings you peace, it's to do it with greater awareness, so you can enjoy those moments longer, deeper, and without harm. In this video, we'll walk together through 5 critical masturbation mistakes that men over 70 often make, often without knowing. Mistakes that, over time, can affect not just your physical body, but your confidence, your circulation, even your relationships. We won't approach this with judgment. We'll approach it with wisdom, with dignity, with truth. And before we begin, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. This channel exists for men like you. Men who still want to feel strong, present, and in control of their health. And if this topic speaks to you, leave a 1 in the comments. If you'd prefer we cover something different, type 0. Your feedback matters here. Let's begin with the first, and perhaps most common mistake. Mistake 1. Ignoring the body's new limits. As we age, our bodies begin to speak in softer tones, whispers instead of shouts. But many men never pause to listen. They continue their habits from younger years. Same speed, same pressure, same intensity, unaware that their body is no longer playing by the same rules. After 70, your heart, blood vessels, nervous system, even your skin respond more delicately. And yet, many older men continue to masturbate as they did in their 30s or 40s. The result? Physical strain. Vigorous or rush stimulation may feel familiar, but now it can trigger side effects like dizziness, rapid heart rate, muscle cramps, or fatigue. What once energized you may now leave you drained. Worse, if repeated frequently, this strain builds up, especially for men with underlying conditions like hypertension, heart disease, or diabetes. And then there's the pelvic floor, an often overlooked group of muscles that play a critical role in orgasm, bladder control, and core strength. Overworking these muscles without allowing recovery can lead to groin tightness, urinary trouble, or even incontinence. Doctors today are urging men to shift their mindset. Masturbation is no longer about performance, it's about presence. It's not a race, it's not about control, it's about listening, savoring, and caring for your body with patience, not pressure. Gentle touch, slower rhythm, calm surroundings. These aren't compromises, they're upgrades. They don't reduce the pleasure, they refine it. Take deep breaths, adjust your posture, take breaks if you need to. Allow arousal to rise like a tide, not crash like a wave. This season of life offers a new opportunity to redefine pleasure, to feel more, not less, to appreciate, not rush. You are not less of a man because you've slowed down. In fact, when you move with intention, your body may surprise you with deeper sensitivity, more satisfaction, and fewer risks. So don't force your body to relive old routines. Let it guide you toward new rhythms. Your body is speaking. Respect what it says. But of course, the physical experience is only one part of the picture. What happens in the mind is just as powerful, if not more. And in the next section, we'll explore a mistake that doesn't just affect your pleasure. It may be rewiring your brain, stealing your joy, and dulling your most meaningful connections. Mistake 2. Using pornography. That overstimulates the brain in today's digital world. Pornography has become faster, more intense, and easier to access than ever before. And while it might seem harmless, or even helpful, for older men seeking comfort or release, the truth is more complicated. Especially after 70, the brain is not as adaptable or resilient as it once was. You see, the human brain responds to sexual stimulation by releasing dopamine, the chemical that gives us pleasure, motivation, and reward. But when that stimulation is repeated through highly stimulating, fast-paced pornographic content, the brain begins to adapt in ways that aren't healthy. It starts requiring more intensity, more novelty, more extremes just to feel the same level of satisfaction. Over time, this leads to dopamine desensitization, a state where natural, real-life experiences like intimacy with a partner, emotional connection, or even affectionate touch begin to feel dull, flat, or emotionally distant. And for older men, this is especially harmful. As hormone levels naturally decline with age, the brain's ability to regulate emotional highs and lows also becomes more fragile. Overloading it with constant artificial imagery doesn't just impact your arousal. It affects your memory, focus, mood, and emotional resilience. Many men in their 70s report feeling more irritable, anxious, or mentally foggy after frequent pornography use, particularly when it's used as a way to escape loneliness, sadness, or boredom. What starts as a coping mechanism can quickly become a source of deeper emotional and cognitive strain. One of the most overlooked effects is the emotional mismatch. Much of today's adult content is designed for a younger audience. Faster scenes, unrealistic expectations, exaggerated performances. For an older man, these images may not reflect his reality, his needs, or his values. And when the fantasy doesn't match real life, it can cause feelings of inadequacy, frustration, or even shame. But there's good news. You don't have to give up pleasure. You just need to reclaim it in a way that honors your stage of life. Doctors and mental health experts suggest gentler alternatives: erotic literature, soft imagery, or even simply reconnecting with your imagination. These options offer stimulation without overwhelming the brain's reward system, and often lead to more meaningful, satisfying experiences. More importantly, being intentional about what you watch can improve how you feel about your body, your desires, and your ability to enjoy intimacy, alone or with a partner. This isn't about restriction, it's about restoration. It's about choosing what nourishes, not just what excites, because the goal isn't just stimulation, it's peace, presence, and connection. But stimulation isn't the only factor that matters. There's another risk, one that begins inside the body itself. And when ignored, it can quietly cause long-term damage that's much harder to reverse. Let's talk about that next in Mistake 3. Mistake 3. Not considering prostate health. As men enter their 70s and beyond, there's one small, yet critical part of the body that demands more attention than ever: the prostate. In younger years, it's easy to overlook this walnut-sized gland. But with age, it becomes a central player in both reproductive and urinary health. Despite this, many older men continue their intimate routines, especially masturbation, without adjusting for the changes happening inside their body. And that can lead to discomfort, inflammation, and sometimes far more serious complications. The truth is, the prostate naturally enlarges with age, a condition known as benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. It's not cancerous, but it can place pressure on the bladder and urethra, leading to a range of symptoms: frequent urination, difficulty starting, reduced flow, and interrupted sleep due to nighttime urges. But here's what many men don't realize: aggressive or improper masturbation habits can make things worse. Using excessive pressure, rushing through arousal, or repeatedly delaying ejaculation all place stress on the pelvic floor and surrounding nerves. Over time, this can trigger chronic pelvic pain, cause increased inflammation, and in some cases, disrupt the body's ability to detect early warning signs of more serious prostate conditions. Some men also believe a dangerous myth, that holding in ejaculation or forcing it will somehow boost stamina or control. In reality, this creates unnecessary muscular tension, irritates sensitive nerves, and slows recovery. Rather than improving performance, these habits lead to soreness, fatigue, and longer post-pleasure discomfort. For men already dealing with prostatitis, a history of urinary tract infections, or other urological concerns, the risk is even higher. Doctors and urologists agree. Men over 70 should approach masturbation with the same care they'd give to any other health routine. Mindfully, gently, and with full awareness of how the body feels. That means using gentle, non-compressive touch, allowing ample time for arousal, avoiding forced release or unnecessary pressure, staying alert to signs of pain, fluid changes, or urinary issues. If you notice persistent pelvic tension, blood in semen, or disrupted flow, these aren't just inconveniences. They are early warnings. Don't ignore them. The good news? Masturbation, when done mindfully, can support prostate health by encouraging blood flow, releasing old fluid, and reducing stagnation. But it must be done with awareness, not out of routine. Your body is no longer 30, but it is still wise, responsive, and worthy of care. And while the physical toll of poor habits is easier to observe, there's something else, something more, invisible, that can wear you down over time. The next mistake doesn't just affect your body, it touches your emotions, your self-worth, and your sense of connection. It drains your spirit. Let's talk about that next in Mistake 4. Mistake 4. Masturbating out of loneliness or stress. Instead of connection, in the later chapters of life, emotional well-being becomes just as essential, if not more so, than physical health. And for many men over 70, especially those who live alone or have experienced the loss of a partner, masturbation takes on a role far beyond the physical. It becomes a coping mechanism, a way to escape the quiet of the room, to fill the space where connection used to live, a momentary balm for grief, boredom, or stress. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with finding comfort in your own body, there's a very real difference between self-care and emotional avoidance. Masturbation is most powerful when it's a celebration of life, of vitality, of sensation, of presence. But when it becomes a routine escape from pain or emptiness, it starts to shift. The purpose fades, the joy dulls, and what was once nourishing becomes hollow, mechanical, even lonely. Many older men fall into this pattern without realizing it. It begins as a relief, but over time it becomes a habit, one fueled not by desire, but by absence. The result? A cycle that feeds emotional numbness instead of healing. I've heard countless men say they feel even more alone after climax. Not because their body failed, but because what they were truly craving wasn't touch. It was connection. And that kind of need can't be filled through physical sensation alone. When masturbation is driven by sadness, frustration, or anxiety, it stops being about pleasure and becomes about avoidance. The relief it brings is temporary. The emptiness afterward often lingers longer. And what makes this so hard is that no one talks about it. Many men from older generations were raised to ignore or suppress emotional needs. Vulnerability was often seen as weakness. But that silence doesn't serve us anymore, especially now. The truth is simple. Emotional hunger cannot be satisfied through physical release. That's why doctors and therapists urge older men to reflect on their motivations. Ask yourself, not with shame, but with honesty. Am I doing this because I feel good, or because I don't want to feel something else? That one question can open the door to deeper awareness, and sometimes the solution isn't to stop masturbating. It's to add more to your emotional life. A call to a friend, a walk outdoors, a return to something that once brought you joy, a new rhythm, a new anchor, because this isn't about avoiding pleasure. It's about reclaiming it as something healthy, affirming, and rooted in connection. With others, yes, but most importantly, with yourself. Pleasure should feel like something added to a life that's already full, not a desperate substitute for what's missing. And your emotional health? It deserves the same attention and care as your physical strength. But as deep as emotional motives run, there's another silent challenge that sneaks in quietly and corrodes both mind and body. It's not about what you're feeling. It's about what you're expecting, and how performance anxiety may be quietly stealing your peace. Mistake 5. Ignoring erectile dysfunction or performance anxiety. As men age, changes in sexual function are not only common, they're expected. After 70, it's natural for erections to become less firm, take longer to appear, or not last as long. This is not failure. It's not a sign that something is broken. It's biology, a normal part of aging. And yet, far too many older men treat these changes as personal defeats. Instead of embracing a new rhythm, they begin testing themselves, using masturbation not as a source of peace or pleasure, but as a silent performance review. Can I still get hard? Why is this taking longer than usual? Is something wrong with me? These questions, whispered in private, begin to shape the entire experience. What was once a moment of connection becomes a moment of pressure, judgment, and doubt. But here's the hidden danger. Performance anxiety isn't just in your head, it's in your nervous system. When worry creeps in during self-pleasure, the body releases cortisol, the stress hormone, and cortisol and arousal do not mix. The more stress you feel, the harder it becomes to relax. And the harder it is to relax, the less likely the body is to respond. This cycle repeats: frustration, tension, disappointment, until the act itself becomes a source of anxiety rather than comfort. Many men don't realize that what they're experiencing isn't just psychological, it's deeply physical. And ignoring erectile difficulties, or letting them define your self-worth in silence, can be one of the most damaging patterns to fall into. The tragedy is that so many choose silence, too ashamed to talk about it, too proud to ask for help, too afraid to even acknowledge it to themselves. But here's the truth. This is not about masculinity. This is about reality. And there are ways to adapt. With grace, without shame. Reframing masturbation from a test into self-care is where healing begins. It's not about how long you last, or how hard you get. It's about how you feel in your body, how safe you feel inside your own skin. And when you approach it from that place, without pressure or expectations, you may be surprised how naturally your body responds again. And if concerns persist, talk to a doctor, ask the questions. It's not weakness, it's strength. There is power in facing discomfort with honesty. Performance doesn't define you. Presence does. As the years pass, your body will continue to change, but your capacity for joy, intimacy, connection, and peace remains fully alive. Final thoughts. Sexual wisdom. After 70, there comes a time in life when pleasure stops being about performance and starts becoming something much deeper. Not just physical, but emotional, even spiritual. After 70, intimacy isn't about proving anything. It's about honoring the body that has carried you through decades of storms and victories. It's about listening, respecting, and reconnecting. You've earned this freedom. You've earned this peace. Masturbation, when approached with awareness, care, and self-respect, can still be a deeply beautiful part of your life. Not rushed, not judged, just real, honest, and yours. Growing older doesn't mean giving up intimacy. It means redefining it, with tenderness, with wisdom, with grace. These 5 lessons are here not to restrict you, but to inspire you, to help you live more fully, truthfully, and confidently. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a quiet moment to reflect and share just one thing you've learned or plan to apply in your own journey. Your story matters, and your voice may be exactly what another man needs to hear. If this video gave you insight or comfort, type 1 in the comments. If not, feel free to type 0 and let us know how we can do better. Please like, share, and subscribe to Wise Elders Legacy for more life-changing content crafted for you. Thank you for watching. And here's to living boldly, wisely, and fully on your own terms.